is Ris coming to you live from our milk house. And Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome 2021. It'll be a great year for everyone. We're going to talk about homemade biscuits and sausage gravy. I kid you not, every time I make biscuits, all of a sudden people start just showing up and they're hungry. So you too, if you make really great biscuits, people will start showing up. I told you when you make biscuits, people show up. There's a few tricks to making homemade biscuits, and it's called great ingredients. And I say that with everything that we do. If you start with great ingredients, you don't have to be the best cook, because you're just having wonderful nutrient-dense food and people can taste the difference. But two very, very key ingredients for a great biscuit. Real lard. This is an artisan lard that we do here on the farm. This makes all the world a difference in your biscuits, I promise you. And then the next thing is buttermilk. People come back to me all the time and say, I didn't believe you about the buttermilk. Working its magic in waffles and biscuits and pancakes and anything that you bake. If you use real raw buttermilk, it transforms, I promise you, your bread products. So of course, we're going to use some of our homemade buttermilk. So first of all, I'm going to take my great cast iron skillet. Do use a heavy duty, heavy pan, whatever that is. I tend to always bake my biscuits in this unless I'm baking for about 25 and then I have to pull out some other pans. But I love this. It's a beautiful presentation because it is an oval shape. It is a cast iron that's made in the United States. It's Lodge. Some people call it Loge, some people call it Lodge. Cast iron. And then the old ones, like a Griswold, is a great old cast iron. But I do love cast iron skillets, the real ones, okay? Like a real cast iron. So we are just going to pop this in that hot oven, and we're gonna let this melt and get really hot. All right. So for any of my breads that I make, I try to use a very high grade, high quality, like better for bread, or a nice flour, if you will. So what I have in here is a pastry flour. In my sifter, I've got 2 cups in here of the pastry flour, but I'm also gonna add some all-purpose flour as well. All-purpose flour has some of the leavening qualities in it that you're looking for a bread that's going to rise just a little bit. So we're gonna mix those two together. This is approximately 3.5, 4 cups. Depends on how many people you have coming over for your biscuits. But I do like sifting my flour when I do any type of quick bread. This is a quick bread. So I do like sifting that in my bowl to make sure that we get all the lumps out of it, because you will be left with, you will have some lumps in your bowl. So that's our sifted flour together. And then we're going to take our lard. So again, depends on how much you're making, how many you're making for. This is at 3.5 to 4 cups of flour that we're using. So I'm going to use probably a cup of my fat, that being part that goes into the pan for greasing the pan, and then the rest in my flour mixture. Now this is cold, and it's always best when you work with cold flour as well as your cold lard in addition. So I've just got that in a few pieces, as you can see, kind of large pieces. and then we're going to use our pie dough cutter to cut. We need to cut this lard into our flour. So you don't have to do this as fine of a cut like you would if you were baking the pies. If you're making pies, you want almost like a cornmeal look. But when you're doing the buttermilk biscuits, you don't have to cut it in nearly as much as you would. So you're gonna actually see kind of large chunks of your lard in this. This tastes so much better than anything you can buy in the store, I promise you. People will keep coming back for some homemade buttermilk biscuits. So you can see that I've got some pretty large clumps of the lard still left in there, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Next, we're going to take our leavening, and this is a baking powder. On this, more is not better. So you want to get your 3 tablespoons is what I'm going to put in this. So it's approximately, if you think about it, it's like a tablespoon per cup, maybe 3/4 of a tablespoon per cup. So that's kind of a good rule of thumb there on measurement. And I'm making sure that all the, this is a bit soft. And there's no chunks in my and I'm just gonna swish that around, make sure it gets evenly in my flour mixture. Feel free to put your hands in your food, it's okay. And then I'm gonna use half a teaspoon of baking soda. That's all, not much. So then we're gonna mix this up. And at this point, this is a little kosher salt. So I would say maybe a tablespoon is what I'm gonna put in there of salt. Your lard offers a lot of savory tones to your biscuits, so you don't need a lot of salt, but you do need it to help with the leavening piece. So this was my grandmother's, and this is what we'll be cutting the biscuits with, and this was my grandmother's as well. Now, the grandmother I'm always talking about. All right, so we are ready for buttermilk. I was taught this growing up, is they create a well. So in your flour mixture, you don't have to if you don't want to, but if you think it's fun, then I'd say do it. And then you're gonna fold. Look how thick that is. Isn't that great? And so you're gonna fold. You can do this with your hand. You can do this with a spoon. I love these. Get these anywhere that they offer kitchenware. And you're just gonna keep mixing this until it looks, this is gonna be a sticky dough. It's not gonna be your dry dough like a bread that has yeast in it. It's not a yeast bread. You can put yeast in your biscuits if you want to. It's not necessary. It just makes them taste a little more yeasty. And if you like that taste, then by all means, put a little yeast in it. It does make them rise pretty. So we're almost there. I want it a little stickier. I've got just a little bit of flour still left in the bottom. These dough scrapers are quite handy in the kitchen. Maybe a little more. I know y'all are gonna want to measure it, right? My audience here is saying yes. So I'm gonna say 2 cups and a quarter. depending on how much flour you work with. So you guys can see this is going to be a very, very moist, sticky dough that I'm going for. And that's okay, we're going to figure that part out. The thing that you don't want to do on your biscuit dough is not to overwork it. Be very gentle with it. Treat it very, very kind and very nice. So we're going to set this aside. You can put this in the refrigerator. You can leave it overnight. And if you know you're having a big breakfast the next morning, then you can pull out your dough. It's already ready. I'm going to just put a lot of flour dough on my countertop. And I'm going to use my dough scraper. And we are going to put this on the counter. You can see how wet, how moist this dough is, and that's exactly what you want it to look like. You want it to be very, very wet dough. You're going to put flour on top of it. You're not going to roll this out. You're going to gingerly just keep working that flour into it, spinning it, and you've got flour on the bottom that's working into it, you've got flour on the top. And you want it to be incredibly soft. You can see how soft this dough is. That's exactly what we're after, but it does need to be stiff enough that we can cut it and keep it in the form that we want it. If you don't want to cut your biscuit, if you want to say, you know, I don't know that I can do that, I'm not that secure at what I'm doing, you can drop these into muffin tins and then they'll come out perfect. So you can see that took off almost all of the flour that we had. It's beginning to feel about the way I want it to feel. And then we're going to make it uniformed. The cutting of the biscuits is so much fun to me. All right, we have got it. Now, a little more flour. We're just going to put a little flour on this. We're going to make sure these make extra large biscuits, which I don't know why you want a smaller really. So there's our first biscuit. Now then, you make the next one. You're going to loop that around. You're going to kind of get it round. And look at that, it's perfect round that way. And it comes right out. There, and I'm sure that our pan is ready as well. So when you come to the end, we're just going to form it and make it round. And, so this is our hot lard that we put in the pan to begin with before we even started making the biscuits. So what we're going to do is just roll our biscuits in this, and you just shape them and put them really close together where they touch and they have an edge to them. These are so are going to be so good. And yes, I always make more than what this pan can hold. But that's what we're going to do right now. So that's going to go in the oven, and it's okay if you have extra oil. It just makes it really wonderful. I guess everybody loves biscuits, don't they? Right? Biscuits are going to cook at a really hot oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. So now we're going to make our gravy. So walnut white spicy brown sausage. So this is going to be a sausage gravy. You can do it without the sausage if you want to, but I promise you, everybody's gonna love you if you do some brown sausage. For those of you who don't eat pork, we also have ground lamb sausage that is quite good in a sausage gravy. So try that out if you haven't before, or if you just want to use lamb. Lamb's good too. So we're just going to brown this. This is the difference in a real grass-fed, either pork or beef or lamb, it doesn't matter. But you're not going to have oil, nor are you going to have water in your pan when you saute or you brown your meat, because this is a high quality meat. In fact, some people say that they need to maybe add a little bit of an oil of some sort. A lard in here would be great. If you wanted to, you can add a butter as well. So I emptied out my lard jar, so I'm going to use this to shake up my cornstarch. So I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons of cornstarch in. So we're going to make a lot of gravy, right? Maybe 4. Okay. Then I'm going to use great milk with a lot of heavy cream in it. And we're going to pour in here. I've already browned my sausage and I've got it off for right now. So we're going to put the lid on. I find that cornstarch makes a beautiful smooth gravy. And it also, if someone is gluten-free at your table, they can have this because you have cornstarch in it and not a flour. I find that it mixes very easy compared to flour. So when you're mixing this up, you don't have clumps in it, that type of thing. And what I like to do is start maybe with a more moderate temperature, maybe even just like I said, just off, temperature's off when I put this in. And if your gravy is too thick, add some milk to it. If it's too runny, then we're gonna go back and we're gonna repeat this process until we get it just the way we want it. We're just gonna pour this in. It's okay if you get a little lard in it because that's gonna make it tastier as well. So I'm just gonna pour this in. And remember, you already have a lot of spices going on in your sausage. So be careful about what you add to it with regard to pepper or seasonings. Now, I know this is probably not going to be enough gravy, so I'm going to add a little more milk to it, but I'm going to see how the thickening works out for me. So this is going to be really super thick, which I thought it probably was. So we're going to go ahead and add our milk in here and make a lot more gravy. So we're going to add black pepper because you can't get too much pepper in gravy. But I'm not going to add any salt to this because our biscuits are going to be salty. It's going to be savory with the lard. You're not recording this, are you? I'm just talking.
No, I'm recording.
Are you? Mm-hmm. Okay, well let me start over. We have so much fun doing this. I find that when you add the pepper and the salt at the end, it turns out a lot better for your gravy. These biscuits are super big. Getting the first one out is always the tricky one because we want to, you know, we don't have a lot of space to work with, but we're going to get this one out. And remember, these are super hot. Look how hot this is. We're going to put this on the plate. And we're going to go ahead and split it because we're going to put our gravy. Well, we can do this. You put a little butter on this and then make it even better. Just a little melted butter. And then we're gonna put our gravy on here. My family likes an extra thick gravy. If you want it thinner than this, just add a little more milk to it. We tried it and we put a little extra pepper, but no extra salt on this. A glass of cold milk or a hot cup of coffee, maybe even a mimosa if you like those. And you have got one great Sunday brunch or any day of the week. What a treat. This is Ris wishing you, as always, blessings, great abundance.